Good morning, everyone. It's FBC Radio Live. It's Friday. I love Fridays. It's the end of the week. It's the end of the NFL regular season this weekend. We get it kicked off tomorrow, Saturday, with a pair of games. And of course, it all comes to a halt Sunday evening as we wrap up week 18. That's right, folks. Week 18 in the NFL. And we get ready for the postseason, which, John, I mean, it's incredible to think about, but it's here. The final month or so of the NFL season, we're going to be crowning a Super Bowl champion in about a month's time. So, are you ready for it? Are you ready for another annual Aaron Rodgers Green Bay Packers disappointment? Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. they, yeah, they have. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. It's like they have the potential of hitting a very high ceiling. It kind of all matters if everything kind of falls together, the running game, the Pat Jalen Hurts, everything like that. So any NFC, and I'm right there with you, man. Like any NFC team could potentially lose to that team. Is it likely? Probably not. Does it mean Philly's going to go on a long run? I would bet a lot of money against it because I don't think it's sustainable. But the beauty of the NFL is all you need it for is for 3 hours on one particular day. That's it. So, but I do agree with you. I think eventually it is going to be the Packers and Buccaneers in that NFC Championship game, which I know, like you said, it's giving you waking up with night sweats already, but you're just going to have to deal with the anxiety of that game coming up because, yeah, I do think it's going to ultimately be the same result as we saw last year, but it will certainly add a lot of a lot of intrigue and certainly some uh, uh, stress to the week. And unlike some of the short memoried Packers fans out there, I would not take victory laps knowing that Antonio Brown will not be on the field in this game because, John, if you remember, Antonio Brown was neither on the field in the regular season matchup nor the playoffs last year for the Buccaneers, and obviously it didn't matter. So obviously the Buccaneers are dealing with a lot more than they were a year ago, having to kind of, and we've seen this with the Patriots before in the past. I mean, this is pretty familiar territory with Tom Brady, and I'm talking about having to readjust on the fly and incorporate different things into the offense and play a different style of offense really on the fly. And I think, if anyone's able to do that and capable of doing that, it's Tom. And we're already seeing kind of, the Cyril Graysons of the world start to make a name for themselves because they're getting an opportunity, and that's a good thing for the Buccaneers team because they're going to need guys to step up. This regular season of dropping nearly two passes on average a game, that can't happen in the playoffs. Um, I've used that a lot as a ultimate factor in this MVP race. But I don't take joy in the fact that this team drops a lot of passes because it negatively affects Brady's ability to win games for this offense. Now, done a pretty good job of it this season, despite that. But again, once you get into the playoffs, like I said, all it takes is one bad 3 hour stretch, and sometimes it's not even that. I mean, all it takes is maybe 2 quarters where you're kind of out of it, and then that's it. So, for the Buccaneers, I think yeah, 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 mhm, mhm. Well, and mhm. And one of the patterns, and this is, you can back it up from a Packers standpoint. Both of these teams have a knack for having really slow stretches. For like long, extended slow stretches. I'm talking about quarter, sometimes 2 quarters. Um, Although I think the Packers, they're a slow starting team, but they ramp it up in the middle and then kind of, the second and third quarter is their quarter. The problem with the Bucks, and this is where I think, again, I think, what, to your point, the defenses. I'm not going to argue one is better than the other. They both had their moments where they've looked elite. They both had their moments where they've stunk. So, to me, and it makes sense that they're 2 points apart from each other when it comes to total points allowed. I mean, they're the same unit. I'm not arguing an advantage one way or the other for either of them. The problem with the Bucks, though, and to your point about how much these teams rely on their quarterbacks, and I personally believe it's no. Again, this is no knock on Rodgers. This is just, what do the Bucks have outside of Tom Brady? I mean, really. I mean, this is a team. I can't remember who tweeted it, but someone put out, basically the records of all games that were one score games but reversed, which kind of gives you, like, how an indication of how it's certainly not a perfect thing. It just kind of gives you a oh my god, yeah, don't oh, it's absurd. Yeah, oh, it's absurd. Yeah. Well, well, to me, it's so if the Buccaneers start slow, it can almost be a death sentence for this team, because, like, and by starting slow, I mean, if Brady has a slow start to the game, they put themselves in holes that, again, short of a handful of quarterbacks, you're not going to dig yourself out. Like, I don't care that it was the Jets the other day. That team looked awful, awful. I mean, the more information we learn about this whole Antonio Brown situation makes me believe that, maybe there was a little distraction there in the first half. Yeah, exactly. You think? But like that, yeah. Well, and so to me, I look at it, I'm like, man, the worry I have if I were a Bucks fan is that on one of these games they're going to start a little too slow on offense, and it's not an indictment necessarily on Brady. It's just more or less the amount of, how perfect he has to be. Like, he has to be perfect. Like, if he throws one interception, you're talking about a game that's going to be tight down the stretch, because, like, do I necessarily? It's same with Green Bay. It's like, am I 100% confident that this defense can make a stop when necessary? That doesn't mean that they can't, and they haven't, but I'm not necessarily feeling great in the moment, in the situation for either of these teams, especially against both of these quarterbacks. So to me, I'm like, all right, if you're the Bucks, you need to start fast every single game. If you start fast, you're going to win every single game if you jump out to an early lead. Like even if they struggle and kind of ease up down the stretch, which they've done in the past, I feel better about that than them starting slow and having to because then you have to rely on the defense, and then you have to rely on other players outside of Brady making a play. And I don't know if you can get that consistently from the Buccaneers. I think you have a little bit better shot of that with the Packers, but again, I mean, these two defenses aren't. I mean, they're top 10 units, but they're like fringe top 10. You know what I mean? Like everyone for yeah, yeah, oh yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. Hmm. Well, I've yeah, exactly. Yeah, something ridiculous like that. Well, and that's the funny thing is that the Bucks' strength might be the Packers' weakness. You know what I'm saying? Like if the Bucks can overcome if they don't start slow and pack excuse me, the Packers do, you might be looking at a yeah. Oh, absolutely. Ex- yeah. He's not going to be yeah. I was going to say he's not going to be the Texans and Bill O'Brien and punt up 22 points in your own zone to give Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs a chance. Mhm. 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 Well, and yeah, I mean, you have to know when to use, and to your point, and I actually I think we talked about this a little bit on Tuesday. I or maybe it might have been at the beginning or end of last week, but the disparity for the Bucks when it comes to first down passing and first down running success and EPA and all that stuff. I mean, two opposite ends of the spectrum, and that kind of plays into that hurry up style of offense, which again is certainly certainly a an advantage when you can execute it properly. You know what I'm saying? Like that's exactly the type of thing you want to be able to do. um can't apparently people can't hear you, John, so I'm trying to fix that on my end. It's probably again it's probably again it's a little issue on my end. I might actually just hang up on you right now and then pull you back in
Mhm.
here in just a second, and you'll just have to agree with whatever I said while you were off the
Yeah.
air. So fair enough. Okay, fair. Okay, anyway, so um let's see. Let's get John back up here while we do that. All right, there we go. There we go. We should hear that. Anyone hear that?
I'm back.
All right. I think we can hear you. Only on video. Oh, okay. All right. That's what's going on. So it's some apparently some issue here. Let me know, guys, Kyle, Joel, if it's changed or anything like that, and I'll try to fix it here while we go, because we're live and there's nothing much you can really do about it unless we
Blame
just
the cats.
yeah, blame the
Blame the
cats.
cats.
Okay,
They
all right.
got us something there. Yeah.
Good. Kyle just said we can hear John now, so we're good. We're gravy. We're working
So
well.
all my good points were missed then, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
par
I
for the
know.
course.
Sadly, well, good. Fortunately for the good folks out there, the fine folks out there, they can always search for the FPC Radio Live podcast version, which all this audio will be there. So if you want to go back and listen multiple times, please do and download that. So, anyways, again, like I'm with you. Like these two quarterbacks, I mean, the greatest ability they can have is putting defenses on their heels, and I think hurrying it up at certain times. Like you don't always want to have the hurry up offense. Let's not go Chip Kelly Philadelphia
No.
Eagles. Like, I mean, I don't know how many people remember that absolute nonsense. Like, the whole moving the ball quickly era of the NFL, where it's like, oh, we're gonna just move the ball as quick as possible, make it impossible for our defense to ever catch their breath because we're not good enough on offense. Like, and that was kind of an adaptation of the hurry up offense that we saw guys like Brady run for years, where it's like, yeah, you can run that type of offense when you have a quarterback that makes every decision correctly, and you just don't get that that often overall. So so yeah,
and you pick your spots with that. You don't run it the whole game.
Exactly.
If you're up 17 points, what's the point at that point? It's situational football. We talk about that all the time, and that seems so simple, right? And I think that's one of the geniuses of Bill Belichick. Well, the Patriots for 20 years were the best team in the league when it came to situational football, like little things that we watch like almost every other team and say, why are they doing that? Like, why are they running out of bounds, or why are they throwing in this situation? Belichick is a master at that, and that obviously helped lead to 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah, exactly. And you asked a great question. It seems so simple. It is. I mean, it doesn't mean it's simple to execute, but I think, and we're seeing it a lot now with analytics and everything like that. I think decisions get overcomplicated. You overcomplicate things much to your detriment in football, because football is already complicated. All right, like why are you adding more complications to it? And this kind of falls under the umbrella of all my complaining about the Sean McVays, the over dramatic, like you don't have to, you know what I mean? Like just focus on coaching, like be a coach. Like you don't have to have all the pomp and circumstance around it. Again, I kind of rail on him a little bit too much, but he's kind of my go-to guy when it comes to complaining about.
I think he's good though. I think he's a good coach.
No, I think he's a good coach. Again, I just, a couple years ago he was talked about as like the second best coach in the league, and I'm just like, we're doing the same thing we do with players that we do with coaches. Is we kind of go all in, kind of blindly, and then we have to backtrack and readjust expectations when it should be just like let's see it play out. And you see, like after that Super Bowl, like as great of a run that is, it's like you can see like, okay, Sean McVay still has a little bit of maturing, and guess what? That's fine. He's younger than me or my age, and he's coaching an NFL team. So like, that's normal. So like people act like it's an insult. It's really not. So we're going to do our picks here in just a moment. And I see there's a blank screen up here, but I'm hoping this is just a matter of maybe the camera is not on Mr. Mike Straw, but well, if he's not here, if we're having some technical difficulties, it might be the Friday thing that we're going to have to deal with today. We can deal with it. But Mike, are you there? Are you there with us? I wish I had a cricket soundbite, because it doesn't look like he is. Oh, there we go. Oh God, look at that nasty jersey. Look at that. For folks out there just listening, it is a Buffalo Bills trash bag. Oh no, it is actually a jersey. I couldn't tell if it was a trash bag or not, but. Mike, no audio, Mike, no audio.
It's like a silent film, right?
Yeah, it's a silent. It's silent.
Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah,
it's fine. Yeah.
I should have thought about it, but maybe with his Spider-Man back, I could have put my mask on.
You should have.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, Mike, welcome to the show. You're on the air with we have John Sapichetti. Also, he's a big Aaron Rodgers honk, and but he does appreciate the Patriots. So
yeah, yeah, okay. There's no appreciation of the Patriots.
Hey, you're like I said, you're lucky. You're gonna not have to hear the highlights or the sound clips that I was going to prepare for the show, but I figured it would be a little inappropriate because we're going to have a fun day today. We're going to have a fun little segment.
I mean,
here.
and like we talked about off the air, you can't. We're at the point of this Bills Patriots thing where anything that happened with Tom Brady is null and void because he's not there anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Like John,
so
like
the 20 years of ownership and us, going full Pedro and calling him our daddy is done.
Yeah. No, I agree, and John's right there with me because he's a
since he's left, Buffalo has won 3 out of the last 4 games, right?
True.
And they're going to win the division for the second straight year. So,
we don't know yet. I mean, the Jets could, by some miracle, beat the Bills. And I'll
see what's going to happen is sports betting opens up on Saturday in New York. Saturday, 9 a.m. I am putting my first legal bet on Bills Jets, and it's going to backfire in every way.
All right, don't worry. I'm still here. I'm just adjusting my Spider-Man mask. Folks, you're getting a little bit of insight into what I do outside of the show. Yes, this is me. Just take my word for it. This is actually kind of a cool mask. It works a little bit better, but I'm going to do the rest of the show in this mask.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, well, I was going to try to figure out a time and place in which to do this, and considering the back of your chair there is very appropriate and very kind of giving me the sign. So hopefully, again, people will just see this, maybe not move on, jump in and say, hey, what the hell's going on here? And they'll hear us talk about Mike's new show that starts today. And that's one of the reasons why we're going to have you on here. Plus, you're going to help us give our picks here. So, Mike, take it away. I know there's we've talked about it off the air, and now I'm having trouble seeing my little soundbite thing here. So if I press the wrong button, just blame it on the Spider-Man mask. Sometimes these things aren't as clear-eyed. But I know this show is without a name.
Without one. We need one.
Yes, we need a name. Thank you. That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting to play this one. So it's all right. I'm not gonna put the pressure on you now, because again, I understand the torment and everything that goes into trying to come up with a name. It's torturous, but it will air at 3:00 today. So take it away, Mike.
Yeah, I have no pressure to come up with something. I was gonna go with Mike Saves Hockey, but again, it sounds so pretentious. Though at this point, I might as well just embrace it and embrace that I'm the only one that can save the game of hockey and make it what it is or what it should be. So I don't know. Maybe I just pull on this whole Colin Cowherd gimmick and I just go around and I'm better than everybody, or I'm Nick Wright.
There you go. Hey, I'd be
He's knocking my boys. Mike's knocking my guys. I'm a big Colin Cowherd, Nick Wright guy. And
so I like
those are my 3 faves.
I like Colin. Nick can get bent.
We can agree on that. That you and I.
Yeah. I love Colin because at least he backs his even if people can't stand his takes, he at least sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Nick Wright sounds like someone who was abandoned at the high school dance by someone who was a fan of every team, not the Chiefs, and he has like a vendetta against everyone.
Yeah,
Nick and I are big LeBron James guys, so we do.
So then you're just terrible.
Yeah,
I'm smart. I'm smart.
That's what I tell. That's what I tell John every day, and not so many words. You should have heard us yesterday arguing about the other but it's all good. It's all fun here. It's good to have these off the wall different ideas when it comes to the show. No, look, or comes to opinions, but I like the idea of the show because I like. As long as, Mike, though, this is contingent on this one thing. You must rail against the shootout. If you want to save hockey, get rid of the shootout, because 100%. I've hated that thing longer than I've hated anything in my entire life. Because the moment it was introduced, post 2004, I think the first thing out of my mind was, or mouth was, this is awful. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And every year that goes on, I hate the shootout even more.
With the shootout, I liked it when I was in high school when it came around. And then I became an adult and realized it's terrible and ties are so much better.
Yeah.
I don't even like how they have overtime set up right now. So there's a lot of things
Like
that I would fix.
the reason I hate the shootout, and I know we're talking about being adults and being mature, and I'm sitting here with a Spider-Man mask on, but you're just gonna have to get past that.
I know how we take this seriously.
Well, that's what I'm sitting here trying to make a big point. Like I'm going to start, railing against Antonio Brown, but you're just going to have to get past the look that I have right now.
You look as obnoxious as he sounds.
That's good. That's good. That's why John and I are a good team. You should be here on days where I talk about Tom Brady, and you might change your mind on that one. But the way I look at it and the way I look at the shootout, it's too much of a gimmick. It changes the spirit of the game. Like when I'm watching a hockey game, you watch that back and forth, the intensity, the line changes, the nonstop action, and all of a sudden the game changes. None of that applies to a shootout. And that's where I have a problem, because once you start implementing situations that aren't hockey or aren't whatever sport we're talking about, if we have problems with their overtime or whatnot, that's when I think the issue becomes a reality. And that's where I think hockey, look, I understand why they did it. It certainly helps bring in some casual fans, which is what you want. If you're a hockey fan, you want casual fans. You want the sport to grow because you want to see it get better. I just hate the shootout with every fiber in my body, and I think I might even put that on my gravestone if the shootout is still around when I pass. So, yeah. So as long as that is your first point.
Here lies Ian. The shootout killed him.
And look. I'll put it like some people sit there. Like I was a goalie growing up. Okay, that was my job, was to stop pucks, just like Tuukka Rask, my boy, coming back. Big, young kid down in Providence, making some names for him, making some noise.
Man, you were just set up for failure from the beginning, weren't you? With just where you grew up.
Well,
I don't want to say I feel bad for you, but
I feel
bad for you.
First 14 or so years of my life, we had, I was born in 86, I was born in 86. So until about, 2001, when the Patriots won their first of 6 Super Bowls, including around the, they went 32-3 against the Buffalo Bills. Hey, look, they won their Super Bowls. Okay. I know we weren't going to bring up the past, but
I don't remember any of that.
Yeah, that's true.
I was so little. I've always said, if I was the age I am now, or say 18, 19, 20, and that happened, there's no way I would have watched another Bills game again after that second Dallas loss. I would have completely jumped alliances. Like, I like the Cincinnati Bengals because when I was a kid, I liked Tigers, and it's like, I'm going to like this team. But I would never have watched another Bills game again.
Your instincts are something to be desired. Like, considering the two teams you latched onto, it's like the Bills are the Bengals. Like,
masochist, man. Cincinnati Reds baseball fan.
Ooh.
Buffalo Sabres. Like, I like the Toronto Maple Leafs because that was my dad's team, so I grew up watching that. It's like, I just don't like winners. The only semblance of winner sports fandom is a soft spot for the Yankees because my dad was drafted by the Yankees back in the 60s. Ooh, and he's a major Yankees fan before that and after. So it's like, all right, I root for the Yankees. Like, the Reds are my team by far, but it's like, it's not like I have this like undying loyalty to them to where I'm like proud of the championships, because I don't care enough. I just I root for them if they're in the playoffs type of thing.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I made a lot of money betting against the Bills in those Super Bowls. I mean, I'm ancient. I'm 58 years old, but yeah, made a lot of money betting against the Bills in the early 90s. It was good. Only on the Super Bowls.
I was going to say, you and John might get along. I mean, John's a big Aaron Rodgers fan, and talk about latching your wagon to losers. I mean, good God. I mean, that's a guy who's come up short more often than the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion. But
not nice.
Keep it up. I'll show my toe.
Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl. Make sure it's the left foot.
Hold on. How long ago was that? I need to take out my calculator to figure out how long ago that was.
Uncle Skip Bayless over here. That was 11 years ago.
So before we jump in, so every Friday, John and I give our picks for the weekend, and Mike's going to join us during this segment here in a minute. But before everyone forgets, 3 o'clock today, check out Full Press Radio on Twitter, obviously on our Twitch channel on twitch.tv/Full Press Coverage, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you can get that, and of course on Full Press Radio if you want to just listen to the audio and you don't want to look at his Bills jersey. I recommend.
Oh, I won't have the Bills jersey on for that show.
Okay,
I'll have something completely different.
So don't worry, guys. You don't have to stare at that. But tune in 3 o'clock today, and every Friday we're gonna have a lot of fun, and I'm sure Mike's gonna have a lot of fun because as much as we like to joke and kid with each other, Mike puts on a good show, and I think people out there, if you enjoy this, you're gonna enjoy that, and I think it's gonna be a fun addition to our Friday lineup, which especially with football season just wrapping up, we're gonna have to get some more entertainment out there. And I think, this goes to show how much entertaining it could be just based on what we do here. So 3 o'clock today, tune in, be sure to interact. You can tweet them. You can call them. Whatever the name of the show ends up being, you can criticize it.
Honestly, I'm leaning towards just being pretentious.
I like it.
At this point, you know what? In Buffalo, we have a reporter. There's Jerry Sullivan,
Mm-hmm.
The one who asked Mike after the first Patriots game. The reporter who asked Hyde and Poyer if they thought that was embarrassing, losing to a quarterback who only completed one pass.
I love that guy. I love Jerry Sullivan. He's awesome.
So I grew up not liking him because younger. I'm like, why do you always got to be negative? Why you got to be a cynic about everything? Why do you got to hate? I am turning into that. And it only makes sense. And it's like, I get the whole let people enjoy things, but I want them to enjoy what's fun, not what they're told to enjoy. So the older I get, the more I realize I'm him.
Hey, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, look, I think you got to find a balance between positivity and negativity, especially when you're covering sports, because there's a lot of both to it. So, you know what? Have some fun with it. Be that guy, be that guy that tells everyone that they're right. And just as long as, at some point you say, hey, you know what? Maybe I was wrong here. You're good. You're good. So I am pulling up as soon as I pull it up here. There we go. We're going to get the picks screen up here because we got about 15 minutes to fly through a bunch of these games. And I want to get your thoughts, particularly with games that involve both the Patriots and, of course, the Bills. And now that my screen is bigger, I must say that I look pretty darn good in this mask. I might just start using this as my going out mask and just forgo any sort of embarrassment that may come with walking around as a grown adult with a Spider-Man mask. But you know what? Hey,
you are in Florida, Ian, so nothing really would surprise anyone down there. I mean, it's quite capable of a lot of people wearing this. What do the cats do when they see you in the Spider-Man mask?
Well, they're all sleeping right now, so I could not.
They're cats,
yeah,
they probably don't care. They probably don't even care.
They don't care. It's all right. They'll look at me funny, but despite what you may think, John, I do not make a habit of wearing this around the house too much. Some days, not all the time. But anyways, all right. Week 18, we got 2 games on Saturday, Kansas City at Denver, Dallas at Philadelphia, to kick off the final week of the regular season. And look, there's still a lot to be played for a lot of these teams, including a team like Kansas City, who, despite what Nick Wright said or has been saying about how they're the most dangerous, obvious Super Bowl. I mean, it's again, at some point, even the biggest fanboy of a certain team, you got to realize you got to be objective. And objectively, Kansas City is a pretty good team. Okay, they have moments. They look good defensively at times. They look good offensively at times. But then opposite happens, and they look like a team that has had an up and down season. And I think that's what you're going to get. So tough loss for them because I think, again, Tennessee looks like they might be rounding into form at the right time. So let's dive into it. Kansas City at Denver, first game of the slate, and it starts tomorrow at 4:30. I will start. I'll throw it down to Mike, and then John can bring up the caboose because he's not on camera and he's on the phone. So first up, I do like Kansas City to win this game. I picked against them last week, and I was right. I don't want to push that luck anymore, and I do think going into Denver at the end of the year is a little bit easier than playing midseason. So I'll take the Kansas City Chiefs in this one, in a pretty close matchup, but Chiefs nonetheless.
I'm thinking Chiefs in a blowout. I don't know if I don't. They want to go into the playoffs on a high note. Denver can't compete with them. If Denver had a quarterback, I'd have a different conversation. But Denver can't compete with them. They're going to be angry about the way they lost that game to Cincinnati, and you want to go in knowing you probably lost the number 1 seed because of that. I think you want to go in full momentum, and I think it's a completely one-sided game.
Yeah, I agree. Mike, I think it's going to be Kansas City pretty easily, and it'll be the swan song for Denver head coach Vic Fangio.
Yeah, because we got Dallas heading to Philadelphia for the nightcap. Dallas, obviously, right in the thick of the top of the NFC. Philadelphia is John and I talked about them a little bit earlier. They can certainly play spoiler here for any NFC team if they just hit the right time at the right day. I do like Dallas in this one. This is a team that obviously, had some up and down moments throughout the year, but they're in a great position now to really have a good setup for the playoffs. So give me Dallas in this one. I do think it's going to be close because it is a divisional matchup, and I tend to lean that way with those. So
I'm gonna say this is tough, but I'm gonna lean with the home team. I'm gonna say Philly. I don't. At the beginning of the year, you had me. I would be shouting the praises of Dallas, but there's something up with that offense. I don't know if Dak's still playing or what's going on. There's something up with that Dallas offense where they just don't look all that right. The defense is hit or miss. Trayvon Diggs is not that good. I think Philly, and they're going to go into the playoffs with the biggest momentum because I honestly see Dallas as a team. They're a wild card division loser, or division winner loser. So I'm taking the Eagles just because Jalen Hurts seems to be figuring out a role to make him productive.
I like Philadelphia as well. Dallas is kind of locked in at the 4 seed. They're going to rest some of their players. Maybe Dak doesn't play much. They're being hit with COVID at this point, and Philadelphia is just on this roll. So I think Dallas rests their key components. Philadelphia gets this win, and Dallas is just locked in at the 4 seed, and they'll play either Arizona or the Rams in the wild card. And I agree. Obviously Arizona won at Dallas last week, and I think the Rams are certainly quite capable going into Dallas and beating the Cowboys.
Next, the first, of our, let's see, Sunday slate. Guys, it's kind of hard to see through these when you're trying to squint and read these things. So just if I struggle, if I say something wrong, then just chalk it up to that. I'm usually swinging around tall buildings, not reading. When I have this mask on. But anyways, you have Cincinnati traveling to Cleveland, take on. I don't know. I don't think either of these teams are going to have their full complement of players. I think Joe Burrow's sitting out. I think obviously Baker Mayfield's not playing. Flip a coin. I'll take Cincinnati because even on the road, I don't know. Honestly, I have no reason to pick them over Cleveland and vice versa. Because again, without your starters in there, without some of your big key players, I don't know what's going to happen. But I do think Cincinnati's a better overall team. So give me the Bengals.
This is the NFL got rid of the 4th preseason game for an extra regular season game, but the Browns and Bengals are giving them that 4th preseason game.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter. The Bengals, so there's that off chance the Bengals, if both the Titans and Chiefs lose and the Bengals win, they'd be the number 1 seed. But they know the likelihood of that, seeing as who both teams are facing, isn't going to happen. Burrow not playing is smart. Who knows? Mixon's not going to be in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows if Chase plays? There's just no point. I'm probably going to go Cleveland. Which hurts because there's no team I despise more than the Browns, to be honest. I mean, it's a swan song. I mean, Baker's not going to be there next year. Who knows Stefanski, even though he was praised as the Browns got their man and the savior of the city. And it's like, okay. But, Browns end the season with a win while the
Ralph Kruger in Buffalo, too, at one point.
Yeah, that was a joke. The Browns get their win and the Bengals laugh it off to the postseason.
I like Cleveland too because I'm so smart at picking games. I actually picked Cleveland to win the Super Bowl this year, and they can't even qualify for the playoffs. Yeah, 7 teams make the playoffs, and none of them are named the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland's like the perfect team that a meaningless game, as Mike said, this is like the 4th preseason game that they just go out and have like the game of the year. Case Keenum plays well, and they sack the Cincinnati quarterback, whoever the hell that is, 11 times. So I'll take Cleveland in this game because Cincinnati's just going to rest people and end up being the 4th seed and probably play the Patriots in the wild card round.
That'll be interesting. Next, we have the Packers at the Lions, and with the Packers having wrapped everything up, of course, Aaron Rodgers is going to do anything he can to try to get himself as the front runner for MVP. And obviously, anyone who's ever listened to me over the last couple of weeks knows that I believe that he is not right now, and and there's a reason why they're playing this game, because I think it actually matters to him. I think this is something that he wants to win, the MVP award. So you know what? Go out against Detroit, the 2-13 Detroit Lions. Packers are going to win this game. I mean, it's the Lions. The Packers aren't going to be sitting anyone. So yeah, give me the Packers.
Lions almost beat the Packers at the beginning of the year. Lions are going to win this time.
Oh, I like you, Mike. I wasn't going to say much.
Plus, my MVP is not a quarterback.
That's fair.
My MVP, we'll talk about when we get to that game. But yeah, the Packers going to lose to the Lions. Packers are another team. They're going to, I mean, granted, they got the number 1 seed. It's weird. I like Green Bay as a organization. I love the small market, but yeah. Aaron Rodgers went from one of my favorite players to realizing he's just a total words I'm not going to say.
Richard?
Yeah, Richard. He's a Richard.
No, that's an insult to a Richard because that's my middle name.
Hey,
he's way worse than that.
Hey, what do you know? That's my middle name too. What do you know? How about that?
So, but I'm going to say the Lions get the win because
my middle name is John.
Oh, well, yeah.
John.
My middle name is Joseph. Joseph. I'm sorry, I even forgot my middle name.
Yeah.
John Joseph.
That's what happens.
I think they thought I was going to. I thought that, yeah, exactly. I can barely remember my last name. I think they thought I was going to be Pope one day, John Joseph.
Yeah.
but yeah, Detroit, they love playing for Dan Campbell. They seem to, like, once they get the pieces in place, I think they end their year on a high note.
Aaron Rodgers has always been my favorite player. He remains my favorite player, partly because he is a Richard. I think he's the most interesting man in the NFL. I think he's going to throw 1 touchdown pass early and then sit down, so that he'll have that nice 36 touchdown to 4 interception ratio, which is 9-1, which is a pretty good ratio of touchdowns and interceptions. I think he'll throw one to Devontae Adams and they'll play 1 quarter, or maybe halfway through the second quarter. The problem is, 10 years ago, Green Bay was in a similar situation. Of course, he's the only guy that's still on the team, but they were the 1 seed. They had clinched going into the last week, and they had that crazy game against Detroit where Matt Flynn threw 6 touchdown passes. And then they had the bye week, and then they were completely flat and lost to the Giants in the divisional round. I think they want to stay somewhat sharp. I'm scared as hell because Dan Campbell's such a lunatic that, I can just picture him before the game talking about biting kneecaps. And, like, if I'm Green Bay, if Rodgers throws 10 passes, make sure you do it max protection so that he doesn't get touched because, Dan Campbell's a lunatic. But I think Green Bay will find a way to win because Detroit always seems to find a way to lose. So, but it's a meaningless game. This is like another preseason game.
Well, I trust me. I hope Mike's right and I'm wrong. So next we have Minnesota hosting Chicago. Minnesota, I believe Kirk Cousins is on track to be back, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter. I mean, both of these teams. I mean, I'm going to pick Minnesota because they're at home, but would it surprise me if Chicago somehow pulled this out of their ass? No, because it's not so much of a credit to Chicago, but more or less a discredit towards Minnesota because, well, they're the Minnesota Vikings. So, yeah, give me the Vikings in this one, and I say it with the utmost lack of confidence.
This is the only game on this slate where both coaches will be fired on the next day. And I'm going to take Chicago. I'm going to take Matt Nagy getting a win in his final game over Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, I could agree more with those points, and I think Chicago's going to win because they're kind of finishing pretty strong. Well, for the Bears, where Minnesota looks like he's kind of given up, and I'll take the Bears in this because Minnesota won at Chicago a few weeks ago, and these teams tend to always like split. So I'll take Chicago to pull off what would be an upset.
All right, next we have Washington heading to the New York Giants. I just don't care at all about this game. I
No.
really don't. I have no interest. I just don't care. So guess what? I'm just gonna my Ian Tingle is telling me I'm gonna go with the Giants at home because why the hell not?
Tie.
Nice.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Nice.
That would be perfect. I'll take the Giants too. I just want to hear Joe. I just want to see the Giants win the last game and hear Joe Judge talk about how they're headed in the right direction.
Speaking of heading not in the right direction, Jacksonville hosting Indianapolis. I have a feeling that maybe Mike, this is the game that he was talking about, and I'll be interested to hear the case because I almost I appreciate what Jonathan Taylor has certainly done for this Colts team, and I think they're going to win this game. It's hard for me, my philosophy when it comes to, and again, maybe I'm assuming too much here, Mike, that this is going to be your MVP pick, but just the way the nature of the game's played, it's hard to for me, it's hard to put a running back over a quarterback, especially if a quarterback or quarterbacks have had seasons like they've had the last couple of years. It's hard for me to put them over in the MVP race. I do think they win this game in Jacksonville, and I think he has a pretty fine afternoon because of it. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he's at 17. I should have actually checked this out before, but his yardage total, he has a chance to move up there in the record books a bit. But give me Indianapolis on this one.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor to me is my MVP, and usually I'm in the boat of quarterbacks, but it seems even mediocre quarterbacks have these ridiculous years, so it kind of undervalues it to me a little bit. And I don't know. I think Devonta Smith winning the Heisman. I know college and NFL different, but Smith winning the Heisman as a wide receiver changed my perspective on how people vote and think now a little bit. And Taylor, Indy wouldn't even be sniffing playoffs if it wasn't for Taylor at all. And I know you can make the same case for Green Bay with Rodgers versus Jordan Love. You can make the same case for Brady with whoever they decide to trot out there. But Bruce Arians, I think, is one hell of a coach anyway. I think they'd be sniffing it, just not as good as they are. But Jonathan Taylor, Indy to me is a 5-win team without Jonathan Taylor. But so my mind, my brain says Colts, but my heart is hoping for a Jacksonville upset for a reason we can get into later.
Ooh, I like it. Okay, I like it.
Speaking of ties, I don't think Jonathan Taylor should be the MVP. I think the top three candidates should be quarterbacks, Rodgers, Brady, and Joe Burrow in that order. But I think Indianapolis still has a good defense and a great offensive line. And I know we like to rail on Carson Wentz. He's been okay this year. They also play in the division where they play the Texans twice and the Jaguars twice. So, you should be in playoff contention if you're competent. And Taylor's not having anywhere near the season Adrian Peterson had back in 2012 when he won the MVP, the last running back to be MVP. So he's had a really good year, Jonathan Taylor. He's special. But you see the value of the running back. I mean, Derrick Henry goes out and Tennessee's probably going to be the number one seed, even though we missed a half a season. I think Henry's a better player than Taylor. But this game, though, yeah, Indianapolis should win and secure one of the wild card spots. So I'll go with that. I mean, Jacksonville is just, my Lord. I swear, the teams we watch Monday night in the national championship game, if you took the best players from Georgia and Alabama, I think they could beat Jacksonville. I never say that. I'm talking two teams, not one. I think that would be the case. They're just god-awful.
Well, I mean, look, they haven't, Trevor Lawrence hasn't thrown a touchdown since, Halloween?
Or at least exactly, so bad for him.
Yeah.
If I do too, because I do believe that, look, some of the responsibility does fall on him because I do think it's pretty easy and we're seeing it kind of with Matt Stafford. Like he's who he was in Detroit. I think for especially all the offseason we heard, oh, well, just wait until Matt Stafford gets out of Detroit. Well, Matt Stafford's kind of the same guy. And I certainly think that Trevor Lawrence can do better in a different situation. But I think it would be foolish on his part, and I'm not saying he's doing it. It would be foolish on his part to chalk up all his struggles to just being on the Jaguars, because then in that case, all of a sudden you start to just pass the buck a little bit. And that's I don't think that's the case. So I'm with you. He needs to get better coaching, better just situation. And unfortunately, it's going to have to happen in Jacksonville because, what are you going to do? Anyways, Pittsburgh heading to Baltimore. Big Ben's swan song, I guess, his last game, although Pittsburgh is in the playoffs and could possibly keep that spot because I don't think Baltimore is any good. I don't even care if Lamar Jackson is playing or not. Like, this is a team that, as much credit as people want to give John Harbaugh, has lost games because of coaching. They've lost games because of poor play from the quarterback position and others. And they've lost games that they probably should have won. And I think that's going to happen again today. Like, I think Pittsburgh is somehow, I can't figure it out why. I think they're going to win this game. So give me Pittsburgh on the road.
Tie. No. I'm going to say Baltimore because I want to wait for both teams to make the playoffs. But I just, Ben Roethlisberger deserves nothing in life. And Baltimore, granted, even if Lamar plays, I don't think he's going to be fully healthy. He's just going to play to play, but I still would take Huntley as a better QB option than Ben.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, obviously. I think the Ravens, I think they come out, and I'm basically giving it to them because they're at home.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh, partly because I think that TJ Watt's probably going to go nuts, break the sack record, and will have a huge impact on the game. So, again, this is another game that's essentially a preseason game, although we're going to see Ben Roethlisberger, I'm sure, play most of the game. But I'll take Pittsburgh in this game.
Next, we have Tennessee, the Titans we were just talking about, heading to Houston. Tennessee, look, we talked about Derrick Henry. The guy's getting ready to come back, and this could be we spend so much time during the season talking about the Chiefs, the Bills, the Patriots, and all that, and rightfully so. I mean, they've all had moments. But this Tennessee team has, despite the injuries, the absence of Julio Jones, the underperformance of Julio Jones, the absence of Derrick Henry, the up and down defensive season that they've had, all of a sudden are sitting pretty in the top seed. And all of a sudden you get Derrick Henry back for potentially 2 games in the AFC. That's a pretty good situation. And I think they take care of business today against Houston to make sure that they get this 1 seed and lock it all up. So give me the Titans on this one.
I thought the Titans were dead in the water when Henry went down.
Me too. Guilty of.
Man, kudos to Mike Vrabel and that staff and getting what they can. The Titans are going to win this game, but to say I'm impressed is an understatement.
Mm-hmm. I'm right there with you. I had him dead in the water as well, and now I look at him, I'm like, I mean, this is a team that might just be set up perfectly to go to the Super Bowl. 2 home games, and I think they match up pretty darn well with all the potential matchups that they could have, considering you have Derrick Henry. So, John?
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly enough, Houston beat them earlier in the year, which was one of the shocking games of the year. But yeah, Tennessee should be right here. They realize that if they win, they're the number 1 seed. You get the bye week. You get Henry back with even more rest. Maybe Julio Jones and A.J. Brown are closer to 100%. They've only had, I believe, 4 games where they've had Brown, Jones, and Henry together.
That's scary.
And that's scary. And I think someone brought this up, and I'll agree with them, that could you find more physical players? That you can't find more physical players than those 3 guys, right? I mean, Henry's 6'4", 250. Those 2 wide receivers look like tight ends that can run. I mean, that's a physical team. We know what Vrabel is as a coach. So, yeah, they could be set up to craft the Super Bowl party because everyone's talking about, Kansas City and Buffalo, and isn't Belichick, got a chance to bring the Patriots along, and they could be the number 1 seed. And again, they beat Kansas City handily earlier this year. They beat Buffalo. They've had some really impressive wins. They went into L.A. and physically beat up the Rams. So, I like them here. They got to take care of business because Houston's been pesky. I give David Culley credit. I mean, that looked like they were a total tank job, and they've battled in many games this year.
Yeah, I mean, you can't write off the Texans, certainly not, like we did earlier in the season. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but I'm right there with you. Tennessee might be that Super Bowl pick for me. All right, 4:00 games, another game I don't necessarily care too much about. New Orleans at Atlanta. Give me Atlanta because who the hell is going to play quarterback for New Orleans? I hope it's not Ian Book because he's bringing the stock of my name down drastically.
You do that enough.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like I do enough damage. I don't need someone else to do it for me. So yeah, in this game, I got to go with Atlanta because, I mean, at least Atlanta has some ability on offense. I don't know if you get that with New Orleans. So give me the Falcons at home.
I think Atlanta wins solely because they lost their playoff chances last week when they lost to Buffalo, and they'll be it's no better revenge or way to end the season than costing a division rival a chance at the playoffs. How the Saints can make the playoffs, which is insane to me. Like, they have to win and San Fran has to lose, but how they even are in this spot with that rolling carousel of quarterbacks is beyond me. But I'm going to take the Falcons just because it'll put the death knell into the Saints.
I'll take the Saints only because they'll have the best unit on the field. Their defense, which has been outstanding this year. So and again, Atlanta won at New Orleans earlier. These teams tend to always split their matchups, and oftentimes the road team will win. So I'll go with New Orleans, who's still alive. Like Mike said, if San Francisco loses to the Rams, which is a real possibility, the Saints could sneak in, and that's another weird team, right? We talked about Philadelphia being that weird team that no one wants to play. Like, the Saints have no quarterback, but they have a hell of a defense, and they're quite capable of really frustrating another offense. So I'll take the Saints in this matchup.
Next, you have the Buffalo Bills hosting the New York Jets in what really is not a meaningless game, considering that the AFC East is technically still up for grabs. So, you know what? Maybe you call me Peter Cox and say I'm the king of wishful thinking here, but I'm going to go with the New York Jets with the upset in hopes that the Patriots can usurp and overcome and take that AFC East lead with a win later in the day. So give me the Jets, and hopefully you guys don't remember this when I'm wrong on Monday.
Yeah, the Bills are winning. Like, it's the Jets. The Jets
surprise,
are
surprise.
Yeah, I mean,
I believe you more than I believe myself. So.
If the Bills lose this game, then they're a one and done team in the playoffs to begin anyway. So, like, there's no reason to lose. They know what's at stake. They know a home playoff game means the world to them, in this fan base, plain and simple. But yeah, the Jets, they dominated the Jets in New York. It should be no different. The only difference is it's supposed to pour all game, and we know how Josh Allen is in bad weather.
Go Zach Wilson. Let's go.
I'm a better quarterback than Zach Wilson. There's not a quarterback over the last 10 years that I have despised as an NFL prospect more than Zach Wilson, because I think he's an overrated, like, Rob Johnson 2.0 level quarterback.
Hey, I agree with you 100 or 99.9%. This 0.1% being specifically this weekend, I'm going to disagree with you and say Zach Wilson is the greatest quarterback outside of Tom Brady, because even jokingly, I can't put anyone over Tom Brady. The greatest quarterback outside of Tom Brady to ever grace this fine earth, and he will take care of business against the Bills. Do you agree, John?
Well, his mom's really hot, so we can all agree on that. So that's obviously very important.
She's my age.
Probably, I mean, she's probably Brady's age, right? Because he actually shares a birthday with Tom Brady. We didn't hear enough of that last Sunday, except they're 22 years apart. I have a theory on Josh Allen, why he plays so poorly in bad weather. But why does he play so poorly in bad weather, Mike? I mean, obviously, you're close to the Bills. What's the reason? I mean, the guy's 6'5", 240 with a cannon for an arm. He's big, strong, played at Wyoming. I mean, it's like, why doesn't he play well in clement weather?
He thinks, the way it looks is that he thinks, okay, bad weather, I got to try and do too much. He thinks he's got to do too much. Or my theory, and I don't know if we're on the same wavelength, my theory is he wants a dome in Buffalo for this new stadium so bad he's going to intentionally play terribly in bad weather to convince a dome to be what's built instead of what they want to build, which is a stadium that looks kind of like what Seattle has, which admittedly is an amazing looking stadium. And as much as I would miss watching football in the snow in Western New York, I'd like to see Josh Allen throw it for 400 yards all over the field at home every week. So, but that's my theory, is that he does it intentionally. But it seems every time there's bad weather, he tries to do too much.
That's so cynical. I love it. But my theory is that he gets too ramped up. I mean, if he just could, like, some guys look like they don't get ramped up enough. he seems like he just gets so like pumped up that he kind of loses himself a little bit. And sometimes on the road, he's played better because maybe he just concentrates better. I mean, he's played 2 brilliant games at Gillette Stadium the last 2 years, and yet he hasn't played as well in Buffalo against the Patriots. So that's my theory on that. But back to this game, I mean, Buffalo should win. This will secure them probably the 3 seed, because if Cincinnati goes out and rests everyone, then, Buffalo will end up being the 3 seed and probably play the Colts in the first round.
And that's the one matchup, if I'm a Bills, as a Bills fan, and if I'm the Bills, I don't want. They saw what Jonathan Taylor did. It's not like they got to worry about Carson Wentz. No one has to worry about Carson Wentz.
No.
But you saw what Jonathan Taylor did to them.
Frank Reich has to worry about Carson Wentz. Is probably the only guy that has to worry about him, because he's prone to throwing interceptions in overtime.
Yeah, we saw what happened, though, earlier in the season with the 5 touchdowns and with Jonathan Taylor. And that's the only team that if I'm the Bills, I go, I don't want to face. Because I personally, until I may see it to believe it, and I believe that the Bills would have no shot.
It would be it would be a very tough matchup. I mean, but you would also, if you're the Colts, you would have to hope that this is one of the weeks where Carson Wentz isn't bad. And if you've seen his chart from week 1 to it's up and down. 1 week he's good, the next week it's bad. It's bipolar as much as you can get. So I think that's obviously as great as Jonathan Taylor is. Carson Wentz can lose you a game. We saw it against New England. How much he wanted to lose that game for the Colts, and fortunately for them, Jonathan Taylor put the nail in the coffin. So, all right, we got a few more games left, so we're gonna fly through these because we're a little overtime, but it's okay. We like overtime here. We like overtime. We're gonna milk it as much as possible. I'm just starting to have problems breathing with this damn mask on for the last 35 minutes. So, anyways. San Francisco heading to Los Angeles in a important matchup in the NFC. Obviously, Los Angeles is still vying for that number 2 seed. They currently have the number 2 seed, but they would likely need to win to keep that. I like Los Angeles in this one. I do like the Rams against the 49ers. I do think it's going to be close. It might be the best game of the weekend, but give me the Rams.
Agree. I think it might be the best game of the weekend, but I'm going to take the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan, I think, is an underrated coach for what he even can do with his team. And even if Trey Lance is under center, I think the 49ers find a way to get it done and get in the playoffs, because I don't trust the Rams. I think they have a situation where it's kind of like the Lakers. They have too many cooks, and it's just not working out.
I like the 49ers as well. I mean, I believe that Kyle Shanahan's won 5 straight against the Rams, so he kind of owns them. Even when they had a down year, he swept the Rams. I'll take San Francisco in this game. They still have that power running game that, can cause problems. And I thought Trey Lance was pretty good last week, so another week more confident. And I agree with Mike. I mean, the Rams are the only team in the NFL that's kind of built like a basketball team, where they just bring in all these stars and hope it works. And the point guards, of course, Matthew Stafford, who's got a little Russell Westbrook in him. Like, he'll throw touchdowns, but also throw pick sixes. So I'll take the 49ers in this game, and that would make the Rams the 5 seed, which means they'd have to go into Dallas on Wild Card Weekend, and it could elevate Arizona up to the 2 seed.
Next, we have the Patriots heading to Miami, and to keep my theory or my hopes alive, I'm going to pick the Patriots in Miami. Obviously, they played week 1 and lost after a fumble late, gave Miami the ball, but the Dolphins made a valiant effort to make it to the playoffs. It came up just a little bit short this past week, so they are not heading to the playoffs, but I'm sure they'll be eager to play spoiler for the Patriots. So it'll be interesting to see what this team looks like in Miami in the Mac Jones era. It was always shaky during the Tom Brady era for whatever reason. But this situation, I do like them going down south and taking care of business against the Dolphins. So give me the Patriots in this one.
So kind of like how you were hoping for the Jets to beat the Bills, I'm thinking Miami over the Patriots. But it's more of a realistic possibility because Miami has always been the thorn in Bill Belichick's side his entire tenure. No matter what. What I am happy about is that Miami did just enough to make a run to the playoffs, not get there, but they made enough to where they'll keep Brian Flores, so they'll keep the mediocrity going at least another season.
I like it. John?
I'm not a Patriots honk at all. I think it's going to be a blowout because I think Belichick wants to right the ship heading into the playoffs. Also, Miami, talk about a schizophrenic team. Win the opening game, then lose 7 in a row, then win 8 in a row, and then they lost last week, and it was in dominating fashion. Tennessee destroyed them. I think the bubble burst, so they're just going to kind of sleepwalk through this. And I cannot watch Tua play quarterback. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Mac Jones either, but Mac Jones looks like Aaron Rodgers compared to Tua. I'm convinced Tua's not left-handed. Every time I see him throw, I'm like, is he really a right-handed guy trying to learn how to throw left-handed? Kind of like Johnny Damon when he would throw from center field and go, is he really left-handed? So I think the Patriots in a blowout.
I think I agree on the Tua front. He is not. Nope.
Yeah, I've seen enough, to be honest with you. And
only they had a first round pick.
Well, and look, the way I look at Mac Jones is like, I like what I've seen so far. I'm not ready to anoint him as, this, that, or the other, because we do that far too often with quarterbacks. I mean, look at Josh Allen.
He's totally the other.
Yeah. What's that?
Mac Jones is totally the other.
The other?
This or that. He's the other.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I think he's right now going to be a pretty good quarterback. I got to see how he develops over the next, this year, next year.
He's the best rookie this year, but he's also people underestimate like the situation you get put in.
Oh, sure.
Like, you put to be fair, you put Trevor Lawrence on the Patriots are probably winning 13 games.
Could be. I mean, that's that's the beauty of this game, is because there's so many factors that go into what happens, and in this case, it's like it could happen, and it's like at the end of the day, we could be. I mean, after first season after Josh Allen was drafted, or during that first season, I would beg to say that most people had him probably 4th out of those 4 quarterbacks.
I admittedly, my worst ever take was when I threw a tantrum at a friend's house for our draft party when they took Josh Allen.
Did you want Josh Rosen?
100%. He was my number one. I was in love with that man. Like, I loved Baker, but I'm like, you know what? When the rumors came out before that the Browns might be taking, the smokescreen rumors might take Josh Allen number 1, I'm like, please, because then the Bills won't do something stupid. And then the Bills did something what I assumed to be stupid. It turns out I'm stupid.
Yeah. It happens to the best of us, man,
He's the best quarterback from that class, I think, easily, and then followed by Lamar, and then, but I'm right with you, Mike. I love Josh Rosen. This is the best quarterback in the draft.
I love
the fact that he was but he just, I don't know if he really loves football, but I mean, you're obviously kind of beaten up after you spend 1 year in Arizona and they trade you, and he's been on like 7 or 8 teams. I mean, and again, he's a really bright guy. I wonder if like football is all that important to him. He comes from money and all of that stuff. But no, Buffalo was fortunate because, they got the best quarterback in that draft, I believe, pretty handily, although I do like Lamar, but I worry about the injury situation with Lamar.
Especially because the rumors had it that if the Jets didn't take Darnold at 3, the Bills were going to try and trade up to get him. And man, that would have been, whoa. We'd be looking at another 20 years.
He looks like every like Richard in every, 80s movie. Doesn't he? Like Sam Darnold? Doesn't he just look like the guy that like in some movie about the high school
Beverly Hills
quarterback
Cop?
Richard. Exactly. Yeah, just like the red hair and the smarmy look and he just looks like, I don't know.
Speaking of, I don't know, Seattle's heading to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. And as much as I'm not buying into the Cardinals, because I think, history has shown that Cliff Kingsbury teams start strong and stumble down the stretch, and we're getting yet another year of that from him. Yeah. I do like them more than Seattle because I think Seattle's an absolute mess, and they're on the road. So give me Arizona in this one to pick up the win.
Yeah, I'm going with the Cardinals. It'll be sad to see Russell Wilson in his last game in Seattle before he goes to Denver. But it's kind of bittersweet. I remember, so I used to write for another site, and during Russell Wilson's rookie year, whenever the hype was all on Matt Flynn, I wrote an article. Like I was given Seattle for the season preview, the team I knew nothing about. Did a bunch of research, watched a bunch of stuff, and I wrote, I'm like, Seattle's going to make the playoffs, and Russell Wilson's going to take over as starter. That's how confident I was. Both those things happened that year, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm a soothsayer.
Yeah.
But it just feels kind of it's going to be bittersweet of a game because I do think this is Russell and Carroll's last game in Seattle, both or with Seattle. But the Cardinals are going to roll them. They're just not a good team, Seattle.
Yeah, like Arizona. Obviously, if the Rams lose to San Francisco, Arizona could be right there as the number 2 seed. So I think Arizona is going to win this game. They may have righted the ship last week against Dallas. Yeah, give me the Cardinals.
Next, last 2 games of the week. In a MVP clinching performance, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers finish off the Carolina Panthers and get ready for the playoffs. I mean, because at this point, they do have something to play for. There is seeding. We've talked about the Rams. We've talked about other teams. There is seeding involved in what the Bucs want to do. So they're going to obviously want to win this game. And I would imagine that a little extra attention being paid to some of the other there goes one of my cats running across the screen. Some more attention being paid to some of these younger receivers and trying to find a rhythm between he and Brady. Because again, if the Bucs are going to go back to the Super Bowl and win another Super Bowl, they're going to have to do it with essentially an entirely different offense than what they had last year. So this would be a good chance for them to kind of work out some kinks that they have. But I like the Buccaneers in this one at home, and I like a MVP clinching performance for Mr. Tom Brady.
Bucs are going to win. I don't care how it happens. Bucs are going to win.
Yeah.
The game doesn't matter to me
at all. Bucs should win, and then at halftime, we're going to get a full striptease from Antonio Brown.
Yeah. Well, he might be doing that during the game. I don't know what else he has to do.
He probably will be, yeah.
But anyways, last but not least, we have the battle of the AFC West. We have the Raiders hosting the Chargers. I like the Chargers in this one, although, again, this is kind of a coin flip game for me. I mean, again, both of these teams are capable of playing high-level football, but then you have some puzzling matchups with these two teams. So I do like the Chargers. I do think that they are the better team and obviously have more to play for. So give me them on the road.
Give me the tie.
Give me a third one today. We're gonna have 3 ties this weekend.
No. This is the one where I really want it because if I want the Jags to win. That's why I said my heart is hoping for a Jags upset because nothing would be more comical and more stick it to the NFL than watching these two teams just go out there, play hard for 3 quarters, but intentionally have this agreement of like, let's both get in.
I like
and
it.
Find a way to tie at the end of the 4th.
Going for intentional safeties and all that stuff.
If I got to pick a winner, I'm picking Vegas. Just because I don't trust anything LA. LA's giving me nothing to trust about. Granted, neither team has, but I feel like Vegas are playing more for each other after the whole Gruden thing, whereas LA is LA. But I want the scenario to happen, the tie scenario.
Yeah, that. Take a knee. Be in victory or tie formation for 70 minutes. I got to go with my Chargers, not my Chargers, but my second favorite quarterback, the heir apparent, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert. So I'll be rooting for the Chargers to make the playoffs because, again, like Ian said, they're quite capable, or Mike said they're quite capable of beating anybody and losing to anybody. I mean, they're really an up and down team. But I'll root for the Chargers. Plus those uniforms. Actually, this will probably be the best uniform matchup of the week.
Give me the powder,
especially if the Chargers go with
blues.
Oh my Lord! They're both teams have gorgeous uniforms. I mean, that's. I wanted Brady to go to the Chargers.
I thought
he was a free agent.
I thought that was a pretty good destination for him. If it would have happened.
I just can't root for anything with the Chargers. I can't because they belong in San Diego. I will never.
I agree.
I will never. I'll just never root for an LA based team.
Greatest team song ever. Yeah, now you got a Spider-Man and a Stephon Diggs dancing on camera. All right, folks. We've gone far over our allotted time limit, but fortunately for the folks out there, I am the one who sets the time limit. So we are going to say goodbye, though, and I want to say thank you, Mike, for joining us. We're definitely going to have you on more often. Folks, 3 o'clock today, 3 p.m. Eastern, on Full Press Radio, on Twitch /Full Press Coverage, on YouTube, on Facebook.
wherever the hell you can find media, it's going to be there. Check it out. Brand new show with Mike. I think we settled on Mike Saves Hockey.
I think I'm going to be
Mike Saves
pretentious and do
Hockey.
it. I'm going to
That's
do it.
right, folks. So tune in today, 3 p.m. Give him a follow on Twitter at Mike Straw Media. You can give us a follow on Twitter at FPC Radio Live. I am at IGLEN31. And of course, you can find John propping up Aaron Rodgers with his fancy blue check mark over at John Sapp 25. Folks, have a great weekend. Enjoy the final regular season week of the NFL season. And we'll talk to you on Monday.